But the way love works is that you're, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, and forgive me, you're a heterosexual young woman, let's just say, which means that, and you're single. And so all these men in this classroom are an option. And you all, you look at them and say, oh, attractive, 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 attractive. Everybody's attractive. Everybody for you is an option. But then someone catches your eye. And then little by little they begin to occupy more and more space inside you. When you first came to this class, you saw 10 men. As your interest in this one person grows, now you see 5 men. There's still 10, but now you see only 5 bodies. Then as it becomes more intense, now you see 2 bodies. And when you're in love, you only see one person. The entire world disappears, and the only thing you worship is that one person. Why, how, who, when, what, it doesn't really matter. Now, in the presence of love, something really interesting happens. You want to be around it all the time. You're intoxicated, throwing up, and you're just not yourself. The spirit of wine is now inside you, and you can't drive. And that's what love does. You can't see straight. You drop out of school, quit, being around your parents. You lay on bus benches outside somewhere. You become homeless, emotionally speaking. And the only person you want to be around you is the person that you love. Oh man, and the way you yearn, the way you long, the way you cry without shedding tears. That's one way where 8 billion people on this planet, out of the 8 billion, 5 billion are men, but you have zero interest in them. You're only interested in Joe, last name Schmo. So, remember when we talked about the 5 senses that you have, okay? You have the eyes, you have the nose, you have the ears, you have the touch, and you have the taste. So the first thing that happens, something about her, whether you walk into the elevator, your head is bowed down, but the elevator is filled with this odor, this perfume that she's wearing, and you look up. So your nose tells you, look up and see who it is. So there has to be some sort of attraction. This is the first seed, attraction. Now, seeds initially are very, very small. It's like you grab some snow, you're on the top of the Everest, and you just roll it down. By the time it gets to the bottom, it's a continent. It's attraction. The thing with attraction, because it's so tiny, if it's not protected, if it's not nourished, if it's not sustained, it'll diminish, die and wither away. Let's say you walk into the elevator, it smells good, you look up, there is Angelina Jolie. All of a sudden, Matt comes in screaming and shouting. This attraction goes away. Now you're frightened. So if there is attraction, whether it's Angelina Jolie or Socrates or Jesus Christ, it makes no difference. If the seed that we call attraction is not protected, it'll go away. Now, a couple of things in regards to protection. You either know the type of seed that has gone inside you, or you don't. If you know, and if you know the value, you will coerce, manipulate. You become a political animal so that you can protect it, save it, make it grow and blossom. No different than when you go to Home Depot and buy a 1 gallon flower. You give it water every day, you put a fence around it so deers don't eat it, all that. Now, always in attraction, there is an element of curiosity. I don't even know her. I have no idea who she is, what she is, but I'm so curious to know. All of a sudden, what you realize, attraction, this seed has gotten a little bigger. Now it morphs into curiosity. And very much like attraction, if this is not protected, it'll die. Even if the seeds of attraction or curiosity die, they leave behind an experience that is stored in your memory bank. When you can breathe more comfortably, you say, okay, well, I saw her, walk into the 4th floor, and now you're in the quad. Maybe I should go back and figure out if I can find her. So you go all the way back because you want to resurrect this, bring this back to life. Now, you may not be doing all of this consciously, mindfully or being aware of what's happening, but it happens. And the other thing you need to understand is your organism, all the 5 senses, plus all the experiences you have in your memory, they're all fighting to have some space inside you. So what you have is you live in an environment where you have all these forces coming to you, desiring your attention. So just because you're attracted to something or you're curious about something, it doesn't mean they're going to be lasting. Because there are lots of things out there vying for your attention. If on the other hand, there is enough curiosity about you, what usually happens is that it peaks or blossoms into this thing called interest. Now, interest is slightly different in the sense that now you go to the library and you Google Angelina Jolie. You ask whether or not she's married, if she has any issues, any traumas. You just want to get to know her, but not physical just yet because she's not available. Most of this stuff takes place in your imagination. When there is enough force built in this thing they call interest, there comes a point, and again, this is unbeknownst to you, you say, I want to be around Angelina. There is a good amount of feelings and emotions, and remember, emotions always are historical, they have a history behind them. The history you have behind your want is you're fully aware of the seed of attraction, you're fully aware of the seed of curiosity and interest, and how this forced you to go to the library and begin to ask Google who she is, what she is, where she lives. Now you begin to stalk her, if not physically, certainly intellectually. Now, as this gains more power and momentum inside you, what happens is, if this is you, and the seed of attraction only occupies 5% of your interior, psychologically speaking, when it becomes curiosity, now it occupies 10%. It means that you spend 90% of your time doing math and 10% thinking about Angelina. When the seed of interest comes about, now you have 25%. So you spend more time daydreaming, fantasizing about Angelina and the possibility of you being with her. When you get to the place of want, now 50% of you. Now remember, at any time, these can be demolished because, as I said, there are all these other forces of attraction entering into you. And at any time, someone could overpower all the stuff. And the thing with want is that you can want a whole host of things. You can want coffee, you can want tea, you can want cappuccino, but anything will do. There comes a point where you no longer want Angelina. You need Angelina. The problem with need is it has intense emotions. So if interest or want was 50%, 70% of you, not desires, inside you, is occupied with the image of Angelina Jolie, the daydreams, the fantasies, all those things. The moment you need something, you become a religious man. In the sense that there is one thing you worship, that's Angelina. You don't have her yet. And because you don't have her, something amazing happens to you. You begin to pray, you begin to yearn, you begin to long, you begin to miss. This idea that you shouldn't worship any other gods except Yahweh, but you shouldn't worship any other woman except Angelina. It just happens organically. Inside the need, there is one wonderful thing. It's called infatuation. You're up to 80%. You take a shower, there is Angelina. You're by yourself right now. You're eating food, there is Angelina. Your mom is talking to you, you imagine it to be Angelina. You have a test in your philosophy class. I don't really care. Angelina. And you come to class, I give you the test, you have to write an essay. 5 pages, Angelina, Angelina, Angelina. Infatuation, if it protected, turns into obsession. 90% of you. Do you see as this continues, there is less of you inside you and more of Angelina? And the less of you, the more free you are from yourself. And the more you're being harassed by the image of Angelina. Now, in infatuation, obsession, because you don't really just yet have, you just yearn, you're hungry, you're starving. And because you have lost both a sense of self, and you want Angelina, but you don't yet have, you have lost 2 things. Angelina, who's not there, and you and your life not there anymore. Now, you suffer from this thing called grief. You're always moping around, so you're sad. Sadness blossoms into sorrow. Your life is all dark. So now that you don't have anything, it's what we call poverty, but it's not so much physical, emotional poverty. And the only person who can nourish you is Angelina, but she doesn't even know you exist. Or if she does know you exist, she doesn't really know how you feel about her. Should Angelina text you and say, can you come over and take out my trash? You say, yes, of course. And that makes you a sacrificial lamb, that you're okay to be butchered. When you're obsessed, you're no longer in control of anything, really. And then it blossoms into this thing called love. The thing about love is that it has this intoxicating quality to it. You're drunk. ساقیا بده جامی زان شراب روحانی تا دمی بیاسایم زین حجاب جسمانی خانه دل ما را از کرم عمارت کن پیش از آن که این خانه رو نهد به ویرانی. That love is like the psychological earthquake that turns your life upside down. You have nothing. This person is the sun and the very air, and without it, we can't survive. Now, the problem with intoxication, for those of you in this class who've ever gotten yourself like high and drunk, you're not able to make any decisions about anything. And so there's a good chance that most of the sort of emotion called love that you and I experience, for the most part, lead us in the wrong way. So after you have consumed a good amount of alcohol and you're no longer sober, you become intoxicated, you lose control of everything. You throw up, and in throwing up, you experience a good amount of pain. All of a sudden, reflection kicks in. Reflection kicks in, and the moment you begin to reflect, you begin to examine everything you have done up to this point that has led you into the place of puking. And then regret comes, remorse comes, repentance comes, self-hate comes, doubt comes, anger comes. And just because all these emotions come about, it doesn't mean it's going to be the last time that you're going to be intoxicated. You're going to do this over and over and over again, because experience doesn't really teach us that much unless you're in the right space in your life for an experience to come in, for you to extract like a bee what's good, and then the output is honey. That happens very, very rarely for us, and oftentimes later in life. What makes love very, very mature is you have puked. At the same time, you understand the stages that you've gone through. You've also understood the pleasures it has brought about, the yearnings, the pain, what you've obtained, and in obtainment, what you have lost and what you have gained. A stage above love is called sobriety in love. When you're in love, you lose control. It's the cheapest, the worst place you can be. It does make you a poet. It does turn you into an artist, and it's beautiful. You sacrifice your money, you sacrifice your youth, your time, your energy for the other. It's great. No different than Jesus Christ. But there has to come a point where this intoxication will dissipate, will lessen its intensity on your psyche and your physical body. And you're able to stand back and review this whole thing. And if you're able to do this, what you have access to now in sobriety and love is you have a universal way of looking at love, expressing love, and feeling. And when I say universal, I mean the following. It doesn't matter what skin color you have, what age you are, what culture you come from. It's like pain is pain. Whether you have a toothache or you suffer from cancer, whether you're black, white, blue, brown, what pain does, it robs you of comfort. And there is a reason why we love someone like, say, Mahatma Gandhi, or someone like Malcolm X, or someone like Socrates or Plato. They were in love, but eventually they stood back and said, okay, I want to examine life, and I want to examine my teaching, I want to examine all these emotions, and I want to pen them, I want to write them down, I want to understand them for myself, and then gift it to humanity. What do you see when you find someone intoxicated? Well, they just act stupid. But what do you see when you like YouTube Richard Burton and you listen to him talk about alcoholism? He's an actor. He fell in love with Elizabeth Taylor. But like most people in power, What power does is it allows you to suck the marrow out of life, and all of a sudden you're in life, but life no longer has anything to offer you. So it bores you, you're no longer on the stage, and life is not as exciting. It's like you trying to compete with your child who enjoys playing video games. Well, when your kid hangs out with you, what do you have to offer him? Nothing. Video games brings him to life. So Richard Burton has this interview with Dick Cavett, I think, and this is in the 1980s, a few years before his death. And he talks about alcoholism in such a poetic, beautiful way. It really is poetry. So that's the answer to your question. Being in love, you kind of understand love a little bit. And so the sort of intense feelings that you had or occupied you while you were in love, they're no longer there. And that's what understanding does. Understanding removes the emotions that usually push you around. And you find understanding creates this rock. You stand on it. You still feel, but you're not going to be forced to do things that your intellect won't allow. Yeah, if I was to put it in terms of, say, the Greek language, initially what you have is this thing called ludus. It's filled with lust and it's intense. Then it turns into eros, which is, I want to experience how her lips feel when they're on mine, or how it feels to hold her hands, or how it feels to be intimate. It's like these two physical forces grinding against each other, because that's how union ultimately form. It's not enough for you to just fantasize about coffee. Ultimately, coffee needs to be on your tongue, and your taste buds say you and the coffee are one and the same. That's what Eros does. Hopefully, your station in Eros will not be long-lived but short-lived, and you will fall into this thing called philo. Philo is you stand on the outside and you try to be educated in both ludus, the component of lust, and eros, this intense set of emotions that live inside you, and tell your body, move, hold her hands, see how her body feels, kiss her. What happens is when you have a good amount of understanding and exposure to understanding. Now, one of the things about understanding is the following. Initially, when you try to understand what ludus and eros are, what you have is a good amount of data, or i.e. information. You just intake information like a sponge. It takes a long time to piece the information together so you can have a coherent knowledge. Knowledge or understanding ultimately is the result of you have pieces of information, you put them together, you sit back and you try to figure out what do they mean. Now you have a good amount of knowledge. Now you sit back and say, do I really understand what I know? The problem with understanding is the following. You can't simply understand with your head. You need the emotions, you need the intellect, and you need your body. The Trinity need to come together harmoniously for understanding to take place. Once you begin to understand something really, really well, the outcome is what we call wisdom. And that's the last stage that the Greeks call agape. You don't need the Bible to know good from bad. They live inside you now. So when you read, for example, the Gospel of John, where he says, you see me, you see God, I am the bread, I am life, I am this, I am that. That's basically what he's saying. I went to all these different places, had some experiences, got the data, information, pieced them together, had profound knowledgeable, and understanding came when my body and my spirit and my physical body, my intellectual body, all became one and the same. Now I have wisdom. And someone like Jesus or Malcolm X, they do something for us that is rarely done. You can go to 7-Eleven. They have some items. But when you come home, you say, well, maybe in a couple of days I should go to Safeway. And then you go to Safeway. Then you say, well, maybe in a couple of days I should go to Costco. They all have merchandises. It's true, 7-Eleven, everything is expired, but you buy them nevertheless. Safeway is slightly better. But when you go to Costco, it's like you've entered the domain of Yahweh. There is everything. When you go to Costco, there is no reason to go to Safeway anymore. There is no reason to go to 7-Eleven anymore. Someone like a Socrates, he is like a Costco, which makes it really, really difficult because you need to be a member, and that's costly. Everyone can give you cheap arrows. It's not difficult to grind your physical body against another's. In this day and age, are you kidding? It's not very difficult to be intoxicated by ridiculous, stupid things. But to be intoxicated by the wisdom of Socrates or Plato or Aristotle, very, very different.